Welcome to the Operations Science Podcast, where the art and science of operational excellence come to life through captivating stories of triumph, challenge, and transformation from the front lines of industry. Our distinguished guests, from manufacturing pioneers and medical device innovators to aerospace visionaries, diagnostic lab leaders, and major capital project leaders, unveil the hidden patterns and powerful insights that drive exceptional results in the complex world of operations. Join us on this journey of discovery as we explore the brilliant minds behind the systems that make our world work and uncover the leadership secrets that could revolutionize your approach to operations forever. Here is your host, Ed Pound.
Welcome to the Operations Science Podcast. Our next guest leads operations in an environment where quality is not just a metric, but a matter of human dignity. With experience spanning product commercialization, mass manufacturing, and leading large frontline teams, this leader has built a career at the intersection of people, process, and purpose. From preparing prototypes for scale to managing complex manufacturing systems serving patients around the world, today's conversation explores what it really means to balance service quality and continuous improvement for vital medical equipment. Please welcome to the Operations Science Podcast, Mindaugas Valkavicius.
Hello.
Welcome. Glad you're here. Let's just jump straight into the questions. First, if you would, Mindaugas, describe your current role in the scope of operations that you're responsible for. How many people? What are you folks doing?
So I work as an operations manager in a medical device manufacturing plant. In my team, I have supervisors, team leaders, and over 200 operators.
Okay. Does that include like quality and planning and control, or is it just operation?
Now, we collaborate with quality assurance and the planning and supply chain, but under my department, it's only people directly with operations with producing the product.
Okay. And what is the product?
It's medical devices, it's stoma bags for patients. Yeah. So we produce a very sensitive product to make our customers' life more rewarding and more dignifying that they could live.
Indeed. I have a friend who uses that product, and it makes a huge difference when it's got to work right.
Oh, yes.
Huge quality of life issue. So you've worked in product commercialization and mass manufacturing. What motivated that transition, and how did it change how you think about operations? What was your experience with operations before you went into operations?
Yeah, so my previous experience in product prototyping and commercialization was working in a university, and I had a small glimpse of manufacturing when I was using 3D printers to make some products, but it was intense, or most up to 100 each per period of time. And at certain time, I moved to the different country. I moved back to Lithuania, and I was looking for a job here. So I was looking for something similar to R&D or prototyping, commercialization, and ended up in manufacturing. So I went to multiple interviews, and when I saw what is coming up and what is waiting for me here, I chose to go into mass manufacturing. I like the rapid change. I like to deal with people. I like to help to solve the problems and do that in a quick pace. So some people might say mass manufacturing could be boring and repetitive, but in the first day, that's not that.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. I having had similar roles, the thing that you're dealing with people every day, and you're trying to unite them to a purpose, and it can be very exciting indeed. So what was the big difference that you found out that you personally experienced when you went from commercialization to operations?
Yeah, so I started in this company as a manufacturing engineer. So previously, dealing more with the small things, putting attention to small details to prepare a product for mass manufacturing and doing all the preparation for the commercialization. And when started working in mass manufacturing, the pace is way quicker. It's not a deadline in a month. It's a deadline that my shift could to continue working. You got to deal with maintenance technicians, with operators to find the root cause that the machine could continue producing, to find the way how to your work directly influences not one person or not some other company, but your own colleagues. So the way you achieve your goals, the way the people would work afterwards.
Yeah, it's It's complex and there's a lot of moving parts. There's no lack of excitement, definitely. So operations science is all about variability. Where do you see variability in your operations, and how do you manage that?
So variability is all over the place, I would say. If you look at it, you can slice in the different places. So starting from associates competencies, the ones that work for multiple years, the ones that work for up to a year, in starting from more of like technical part, how the similar multiple machines can work very very different, how the raw materials can influence that, how the need of production when you plan for one and then the next month comes in a bit different. I would say I started mass manufacturing at a very interesting point just before the pandemic, and pandemic showed that all variability. So that gave me a huge lesson in the manufacturing, that you can't expect everything to go smooth as it's planned.
So that's interesting. What was the effect of the pandemic on your operations? Some people, like airlines, just shut down. People who were manufacturing vaccines were, through the roof. In your business, what was the effect?
So when pandemic started, I was in a manufacturing engineer role, and throughout the pandemic, I transferred to the manager's role. So when the first year of pandemic as an engineer working from home, when the whole plant is still up and running, it was very interesting. You start the morning by loading up the drawing of the machine and have a call with the maintenance technician who is filming, and you're saying, okay, let's try this, let's try this. That's where I learned that data matters. If you're not there on the spot and you can only do it remotely, then data matters. The decisions you make has to be based on some actual data that shows what's happening with the equipment. Where's the variability? The second year of pandemic, I moved to the supervisor role, so I started leading the team of manufacturing. So there was a variability as well. Working from home, not being able to directly speak with people, only getting, say, a secondhand opinion or through someone else, uh, that was very challenging. I started my manager's position while I was still in the plant, and then for the winter period, we all went working from home while the associates and team leaders were still running the plant.
Really? So you were supervising operations, but since I guess you were not necessary or not essential, they had you work from home.
Yes, yes. And a big part of what we did as a company was to put emphasis of team leaders. Guys, you are the main people of the company that is in the company. And everyone who works from home is there to help you. Whatever is needed, we're here to help because we can't be there hands-on.
So did the pandemic, though, did it lead to an increase in demand or decrease, or was it just really no effect on overall demand for your product?
So it was decreasing slightly. The product relies on part of the people traveling. No travel, less sales. Yeah, but due to our company have some diversification in what we're making, we were able to stay the same throughout the whole pandemic. The plant that I work in was built and started in 2019, so we've doubled in our capacity in machinery and in all operations throughout the pandemic. So we had equipment set up with video cameras with our vendors, and yeah, that was very challenging.
That sounds challenging. Yeah, I didn't have to quite deal with those restrictions. Definitely. Well, that's interesting. So nowadays, the pandemic's behind us. It sounds like you've got your additional capacity in place. But when you're looking at capacity, do you have a lot of, is it automated equipment, or what sounds like you have a lot of operators? So there's a lot of manual work.
Yeah, since the product is sensitive to our customers, so every piece of the product has to be checked by our operators. So machinery is automated, but still there is a big input of operators loading the materials, offloading, checking the quality, doing the functional testing every few hours to ensure that the product can securely do its purpose.
Right. So the capacity then, it sounds like the automated production capacity is installed. That's kind of fixed. How do you look at the capacity for your labor? How is that managed?
So it does change month to month. our engineering teams, operations teams, quality, supply chain, we have glide paths on our production equipment. So we see that, okay, within 6 months, we're aiming to improve it by X percent of over equipment efficiency to reduce the waste. So within that, we recalculate what's the capacity of our labor will be needed. So we estimate it throughout the year as we budgeted, but we base that on the improvements that we'll be making throughout the year, and that's a commitment we make to the company or to our customers. Of course, not 100% all the improvements succeed. So you got to be very flexible with that. We see that, okay, within the next 3 months we had to increase the output of the machine, and maybe the whole utilization of machine will drop down, but that does not happen. I don't see the glide path to being followed. Then we need to review, okay, how much staffing we need to do and what other rapid improvements we can do to levitate or leverage that gap. So that's the quick reaction that we need to do.
When you're hiring labor, how long does it take? And I'm sure there's a range because some jobs are easier than others, introductory jobs. But how long does it take to bring people online where you feel like they're trained and they know their jobs?
So it is a range. We have the equipment that you can learn, finish your training plan, and get it all signed up and work independently within a month. But majority is around 3 months. So they have their mentor, that the other operator that is training them during that period.
Yeah. So, and I'm not familiar with the economy in Lithuania. What is labor availability and a challenge? Do you have trouble finding people? How does that work?
I wouldn't say that we have trouble finding. We're located in city of Kaunas, so that's and in general Lithuania has pretty higher education level, especially in the young people. So to find specialists, junior specialists or senior specialists, it takes a while. We have competition around, of course, but the location we're in is pretty helpful for our case.
Okay, well that's a good market to be in. That's not the same everywhere, that's for sure. So let's talk about continuous improvement. You mentioned when we were doing preliminary discussions about continuous improvement being embedded in how your plant operates. How do you practice that? Do you have a continuous improvement group, or does teams just sort of self-manage that? How does that work?
So our plant is now going to be 7 years old, out of a 100 years old company. But from the day one when I joined it, we always had continuous improvement managers that would drive and train the teams. But that was the first couple of years that those continuous improvement managers would, I would say, be responsible for how we drive the continuous improvement. Now it's we still have them. They help us to drive new methods. They help us consult us and steer us the right way. But every team is responsible for using the system we have. So let's say just every shift for operators starts with a tier 0 meeting where they hand over the shift. They check if they were safe, the quality was good, and the service was good. And if there's any issues, to escalate to the tier 1 meeting, it goes with the tier team leaders, and off it goes up to the plant tier meeting where plant leadership team goes. So that's one example where we track. We use visuals to track if it's red and green. I'd say that if you come to the equipment, you see a board and you can see if we're winning or losing. Every 3 hours, they report on the goods made, on the quality level, and if there is any issues occur there. Secondly, so during those meetings, we decide if we need any support that was not, or to solve any issues that were not solved in the previous shift. So we use problem solving. One of other tools that are embedded, either it's a 5-why analysis or the fishbone analysis to help to find the direct cause to get to the root cause. So that is, I would say, that was our daily life for last 6 years probably in the company.
Okay, let me just a clarification question, because this is sort of a practical thing that I've any manager comes across in operations. You mentioned the idea of getting the status update. Do you have shift overlap? So, for instance, does a previous shift stay an extra 15 minutes, or the oncoming shift come in early so that both teams are talking? How does that exchange of information go?
So they were overlapped for some 7 to 5 minutes or something like that. So the next shift coming in, they would come a few minutes earlier to hand over by the board and point out some things. Hey, look over this station might have some any issues, So if something called technician, they kind of resolved it or so and so on. So there's a small window where they meet each other.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, I've been places where, the two shifts don't really talk to each other. The one shift comes on and it's kind of like a ghost town, like, oh, I guess somebody was here because I see some work was done, but they don't know what's going on. I think it's really important to maintain that communication.
Yeah, and we did on some of our machines that are critical machines. We did some standard for us how to hand over what we call it hot machine. So with the still run. So if there is a needed two operators to run the machine or multiple operators, so one can hand over to the other leader of their machine, and the others could continue and hand over machine in while it's still running. We call it continue run. We sometimes call it hot machine handover.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I mean, you don't obviously you wouldn't do that for every machine, but certainly for critical resources, it makes complete sense. So this year you shifted towards more rapid Kaizen style improvements. What prompted that change, and what has surprised you, if anything, about the results?
Yeah, so that was a choice of the company to try out what we call the Kaizen events. I would say we used to do Kaizen events. We wouldn't call it Kaizen events. The quick change med standard workshops. Now we put it into one name, and we put it into more frame, more structure for that. Of course, as a new thing comes to the company, or the new name comes to the company as a Kaizen events that were not used before. So there was some twisted heads that, oh, what is this? What we gotta have to do? But when you explain, and when the teams do those Kaizen events, you can see that within from 1 to 5 days, when you close in with the team, you put the resources all over it, and in the fifth day, in the last day, you can see the results already. So that was the goal. Okay, let's do improvements that give results while in the moment we do the improvement. Of course, there's going to be some of the tasks and some of the projects that will lead for a month more. You need to order something, build something, but the majority and those low hanging fruits can be done pretty quickly.
Yeah, indeed. And if I have that right, you started that when in 2025, at the beginning of 2025, or how long has that been going on?
The Kaizen approach somewhere end of 2024.
Oh, okay. So it's been about a little bit over a year. Yeah. So how do you then, because one of the issues that I've seen everywhere is people start on a Kaizen program, and they could call it anything, right? It could be Tiger Teams or whatever. And the idea is get people to do projects and work on stuff that they can improve, which works great if you've never done it before. But after a while, you kind of run into like, well, what should we work on next? Because you've captured all the low hanging fruit. How do you deal with that prioritization?
Yeah, so there's different approaches to do that. So first is if you see, okay, we need more capacity. We need more capacity on the labor. So that's where you can handle that. So you see where the first, I would say, thing is when we started, okay, do we see where we need to improve because we can't reach our goals for the period of time, or we can't reach our commitment to the company and to the customer. So that would be the first one. This year, we're moving into doing value stream mapping to see the opportunities and where we would like to be when we paint our uh, ideal state and the future state. That will drive the structured Kaizen schedule.
So do you then require that everybody participate on a Kaizen team, or you're just doing it on an as needed basis?
It depends what kind of resource is needed. So we have some people that are trained to facilitate the Kaizen. Others are still training or say training by doing. That's the best way to do. So you get through the whole preparation phase. You need to be prepared to do the Kaizen event, and you need to get the resources that you need, and then off you go. So the main thing is to find people that would drive this.
Early on in my career, I was a manufacturing manager, and we started this whole continuous improvement, Kaizen, lean. And literally every manager in operations was required to do 5 years or a week long event. I think ours were similar, 4 days to do, you're required to do 5 Kaizen events a year. Is there that sort of requirement within your group, or is there some other way that you choose which projects you're going to do?
So we have a guideline for putting the Kaizen event-based approach target as well. So the plan has to do 10 events. So we did plans. We did 22 events last year. So that was based. Okay, so uh, if you do this, you'll have the critical capacity or knowledge within your team, within your plant that can do that, and then you plan it according to the need.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, it makes complete sense to do that type of effort. I always like to say you need to take time out of work to work on making work better, because people can't, do the improvement while they're working. It's just unrealistic to expect that. And then the typical pattern I've seen is that people start on that, they get very fired up about it. Everybody's doing Kaizen events in Factory Physics for Managers. One of the books that we wrote, we cited an example of the company was reporting how many events they had done. And so now the measure becomes how many events, which is not really the right measure, right? But it sounds like you've got that pretty much under control. 22 events last year. Maybe now you're looking at 10 because you've kind of captured a lot of low hanging fruit. That sounds like a practical approach.
Yeah, I think the number that was set 20, that was for the plant to learn. It's not that, now we got to look, okay, what we need to improve ergonomics. So the safety first thing. So that's the priority where we would do the Kaizen. Then you go, okay, the quality is the second. Then there is a service, and then there is cost. So through that priority list, you look, okay, where I need to put my attention, my team attention, and where do we need to do the Kaizen events.
Right. So, did you get initial pushback? People thinking like, "Oh, all this is we're just going to cut costs and eliminate jobs."
Definitely. Actually, we had one Kaizen event that was to improve ergonomics, and there was like, okay, yeah, so you improve ergonomics, I have to walk less, so one of us is not going to be needed here. It's like, guys, if you see that as an outcome, we're not going to fire you, definitely. But that's a saving. We wanted to make the workplace better, more comfortable, that you wouldn't get fired. But if we can make the workplace that you don't need to work three of you, but just two of you, that's a win-win.
Right, because if demand is growing, you can absorb the extra labor. I mean, although it does happen that is what happens, and people do get laid off. But you know what? That's not because of doing a Kaizen or some sort of continuous improvement program. Every company is going to be doing that, and so it is kind of, but it's human emotion, right? But it's just the reality of business. I mean, if you can improve and work with less cost, you're better off in the long run than by just keeping people around.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you need to be competitive in the business.
Yes, exactly.
Won't be able to offer any job.
Right. Definitely.
That's one thing that everyone has to keep in mind. You gotta earn money to live through.
Indeed. Indeed. So when you're looking at demand, what sort of horizon what's your planning cadence, your planning pattern like? Do you look at demand for production for say 3 months, and then you look out for capacity for a year or two? How does that work?
So we usually plan 24-month forecast. Our production planning is based on the forecast, and we look at that. But I would say last 16 or 18 months were very different for us. We absorbed a different plan from different country coming to Lithuania. So in my part of business, we doubled in size. So we need to plan and look into it way quicker. So okay, we see what's next month, which machine starts, which machine moves from to Lithuania, and how we're gonna ramp up that. So that was for last, let's say, 1.5 year. We would have weekly meetings where we would look, okay, so what's coming? Are we starting the production next week with the machine as planned, or it's delayed, or it's gonna go earlier? But usually we would be 24 months up, and more detailed 12 months.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's interesting. So what you're saying is you consolidated production at your facility from other plants. Is that right? Yeah, and that I've seen. Yeah, I've seen those be successful, but also seen them be quite disastrous if there's not a good planning, and it depends on the complexity of the product being transferred, all that sort of thing. So, congratulations to you if you've managed that successfully.
I was on the happy side. I was on the receiving side. That's always, yeah. I was on the receiving side of the consolidations. It's always happier.
Well, that's definitely always happier. The people who are sending you their equipment are not so happy. But even so, just getting the equipment in and getting the new procedures up and managing, uh, and sometimes it's new products, can cause some serious challenges, which have to be managed. But it sounds like you guys manage those pretty successfully because you're still producing and well, let me ask you that. How are your how's your cycle times and your on-time delivery targets? You hitting those pretty well?
For cycle time, so not all the ramp ups were as expected. We moved quite old equipment and slightly new type of product that we started producing. So that's new for our whole crew. How to do it, how to manage that equipment. That's definitely, there were some bumps. There were expected fluctuations and all that. But I would say that that was quite a success. We planned from 2.5 years. We did it in 1.5 year.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that is a success.
When you look at that like that, that was a huge success. There was a lot of course, some other things, that some other challenges, but we had a great team that took it, and we had a that sent us the plan.
That's great. Congratulations, because it doesn't always go that way. Well, let's along those lines, when you're trying to make improvements, whether it's bringing in new products or anything, and particularly when you're doing the continuous improvement, one of the things that happens is you get into the progression and the development of the continuous improvement efforts, the Kaizen events. Sometimes you get Kaizen events. You do a Kaizen event on one particular area, say at the beginning of the year, and then you do another event at the end of the year, and it kind of works against what you did at the beginning of the year. Have you seen any situations where that's happened? And if not, how do you manage that so it doesn't happen?
Yeah, I would say that's easy to happen if you don't plan well your Kaizen events. That's why we're taking approach of doing a value stream mapping to map the path towards that we wouldn't shoot ourselves in the leg. We will overproduce and then need to manage the work in progress now.
Right, right. Yeah, it happens. Yeah. Well, I think the value stream mapping, and actually, in the operations science context, that's just making a model of your facility, right? So you can see once you change things, what it's going to look like. And that's one of the things we do with operations science is we add that to whatever effort you're doing, and it just strengthens that. But yeah, absolutely, having that model so that you're not just making random changes because you want to have some action going on. Um, Having a model to understand what will actually happen is critical to make sure that you avoid those conflicts.
Yeah, and it's important to agree on that model throughout the organization. One department does it, you might see that it's important for you, but others won't see it as important, or they would see the obstacle. What you said, I did something and it's gonna bite me at the end of a year.
Yes, yes, that is really true, which ties into a topic that we talk about a fair amount, is that measures alignment, right? Everybody needs to have measures that align their efforts, and those measures correspond to the behavior of your operations system in terms of how you manage it most efficiently, which is, of course, what operations science describes. But yeah, that management of the different priorities is key. So when you're looking at that, how do you guys measure efficiency in your environment? And is that something that you do measure? Well, I mean, what are your key? I would think quality, cost, safety. Well, and not in that order because safety is always the first, but quality, cost, safety, delivery. are the primary measurements. How does efficiency or utilization play into that?
Yeah. So we look at a couple of places. So one is the overall equipment efficiency, so the OEE, so where the engineers daily bread, on that. So that's one part where we measure how we utilize the equipment that we have, and to get the data from the equipment and from the operations, what's going on there. The other part, how do we adhere to our budget? So that's the efficiency of the how we work. So that's the other part.
Okay. And so there's always that ongoing discussion with finance about, what you're doing versus how much money they want you to spend, right? So do you along those lines, the finance question or finance, however you want to pronounce it, do you have your cost accounting or finance people in operations, or are you just basically reporting out to them and they're saying good or not good and giving you feedback that way?
If looking from the structural part, so that there is separate department, but we have the common tier meetings where we review team data. So we review our operations tier meeting, then the plant leadership team reviews it, where there is a plant controller, there is a finance analyst that participate in other tier meetings where we analyze. So we work, how to say, shoulder to shoulder, probably with this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean,
Very happy that it's not the people that just sends a report and says and points the finger. We do Gemba walks with our finance people. If we see some negative variances, or we see we want to show the improvement or the investment, so we take the finance analysts, the finance controllers to the Gemba walk to be in the spot and see how things are working and where it comes from. That helps saves a lot of time of explaining by the computer or sending an email.
indeed. Indeed. Yeah. I mean, in the end, you're both trying to achieve the same goal, right? And so we've seen a lot of conflict sometimes because finance uses a different model than actually reflects the behavior of operations. That they would say, oh, utilize all equipment all the time. But the way operations behaves, if you have very high utilization, you just end up with a lot of WIP and very long cycle times, which works against what you're trying to do. But yeah, working together and having a common model is key to reducing chaos and stress.
But that means a lot of alignment has to be done in the company. So when we started working, so everyone came from different companies when the plant was open. So everyone came with their perception of how things should be done. So it took us a while to align to understand the same picture. Yeah, I can run the machine on stop, but what I'm gonna do with the frozen capital there? It sits on the floor. It takes space. I can't bring in the machine there that can generate more enough. So you need to find the middle and find the understanding. So I'm happy that we've done that in the last few years in our company, and we have a common understanding what's needed.
Excellent. So if you were advising somebody who hadn't been in operations before and they were going to go into an operations role similar to what you're doing, what would you advise them to either learn or to unlearn?
All right, yeah, it's a good question. So first of all, I would say be an open-minded person and listen a lot. You need to listen to the people in your team, especially to the frontline operators. They know what's actually going on there. Yes, report is a one thing. You can point at the number and look at the number and read the data. Very, very important to go on the floor and talk and see what's going on there. To connect the numbers, connect the data to the actual movement. So I think that would be my first. That's what I learned in the first couple of years from my manager. Said, like, you don't understand something, go there and ask. They know the best from everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, the expression we like to use is the people who do the work know the work best. So, if you're looking for answers, check with them. Uh, all right, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about Mindaugas the man. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Lithuania? What was your childhood like?
Yeah. I grew up here, actually, nearby the city I live now, next to Kona City. Yeah. And yeah, so the childhood was so my dad was an engineer. My mom worked as a technologist in the sewing company. So she was managing the people in the sewing company, and my dad was doing the engineering stuff and in meteorology. So engineering was my passion all my life. From my childhood, I had my whole fingers burned from soldering wires and doing some electronics, and then going with my mom to different sewing companies, seeing how she works with the people. So when I was preparing for our talk today, when I thought, okay, so like where did this come from? My passion for engineering and the 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 people person, I realized, yeah, that's both of my parents. Give me both of that. I saw that in childhood. I would spend a lot of time in their workplaces, and that's where I saw that. And I think within the time it settled in my mind. Didn't pay attention majority of my life to that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Wow, what a great set of mentors, and they're also your parents. So that worked out great. So what that's interesting. What's like a key piece of advice from your mom on how to manage people? What does she tell you to do?
Yeah. So when I told her that I got working in mass manufacturing, she said, "Oh boy, that's not going to be easy." She spent a whole life in mass manufacturing. Said like, it's going to be tough. Said like, yes, as any other work. And she said like, yeah. The first thing what I learned and I want to tell to you is pay attention to people and build relationship. You build trust, you can achieve a lot. You can get the people trust in what you're selling them, or what you want to achieve with them. So building trust is one of the important things. So I think that's what I keep in my mind every time.
Yep, definitely. That is so key because in the end, it's about the people you're working with, unless it's a completely automated factory, which very few are. So, yeah, that sounds like great advice. So, what do you do outside of work for hobbies?
Now I have 11 year old kid. So for pretty much last year, that was my main hobby.
Yeah, sure. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But I want to get back to my previous hobbies. I like to construct things. I like to do some electronic things. Yeah, some of the something with engineering. I miss engineering. I haven't been in engineering role for last 4 years, and I see that I miss it. So I moved to the house now, and I have a lot of things to do in there. Yeah, I'm waiting for spring to go out and do a bunch of projects.
Yeah, well, that's home ownership. There's no shortage of projects.
Yeah. So I think my hobby, I would say, is to make something that would benefit me and would look nice, and I get to put my mind and my hands into that. That are the things. In winter you can do Lego.
Well, that's excellent. Well, listen, Mindaugas, it's been wonderful talking with you. A lot of great insight. Appreciate you sharing your experience. I'm sure the audience will have plenty to think about from the conversation. So, again, thanks for being on the show, and I look forward to keeping up with you in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. I enjoyed.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
The Operation Science podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. Join the Operation Science Institute at opscience.org. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode. The views expressed by our guests are their own and do not represent their company's views unless specifically stated as such.